Third down and 20.
So let's talk quarterbacks and tight ends. Let's start with the number one guy. We're going to go quarterbacks first, then tight ends. Number one guy, Superflex 101, easy pick, Trevor Lawrence. Now, when we're comparing him with non-rookies, we're talking he's our tier one guy. He's in the likes of Dak Prescott, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow. What are we doing? How do we rank him compared to these guys?
So my ranking is actually the same as how my recent. By the way, in the startup draft, all four of these guys are first-round picks in startup drafts. And I agreed kind of with the order it went. I have Dak and Lamar ahead of Lawrence, and I'll give Lawrence the edge over Burrow. That's probably how I'd rank them.
I gotta hear that again.
He has Dak and Lamar over Lawrence, and then Burrow below, which I think is pretty consensus at this point, to be honest. But I don't disagree. I think Burrow coming off the injury, even adding college teammate Jamar Chase into the mix there, I still have probably Trevor Lawrence there, just based on the upside that we've seen from him at Clemson.
Yeah, and it's not a slight out Burrow. I'm sure Jake feels the same way. We're all really high on Burrow. I think he'll be really good. I think he's gonna be one of those guys that is gonna lead the league in passing yards a couple years throughout his career. You've given me the upside of Trevor Lawrence.
Wait, how did you have it, Lounis?
So I have Lamar and Dak ahead of Lawrence, and then Lawrence ahead of Burrow.
I think that there's a strong argument that Trevor Lawrence is the number two guy. I think I would rather, because it's one of Dak or Lamar you can have over Lawrence. I think I'd take Dak over Lawrence, and then Lawrence a smidge over Lamar for like a true dynasty outlook. Like if I'm building a team around a specific player. Burrow, I'm a huge quarterback and startups guy. I'm not sure I'm willing to spend a first-round startup pick on Joe Burrow, to be honest. I think that if there's one quarterback that doesn't belong in this tier, it's going to be him.
I think from what you're saying, Frank, I'm in the same group as you, where I have it as Lamar, Trevor Lawrence, Dak, Joe Burrow. And I have Lamar and Lawrence very close together, and then I have a little bit of space, and then I've got Dak and Joe Burrow very close together. You guys touched on a lot. I just think Lamar's finally getting solid receivers. He just got 2 receivers drafted to his team with help. He's got a more experienced Marquise Brown and Mark Andrews there. Then you put with Trevor Lawrence, who's going to a pretty good team offensively. He's got a lot of weapons around him.
Weapons, yeah.
Yeah, and then my thing with Dak is I think people are really starting to overrate him just because of how good he was through the first 4 games. But he was literally passing at a record-breaking amount. And I don't see him doing that again. I'm not sure how he's going to come back from the injury. I mean, the injury doesn't really change my opinion of Dak that much, but I just think people are really starting to build a lot of hype on 4 games that he had, which I don't think is right to do. And then Joe Burrow, he got T. Higgins and Jamar Chase, as well as Tyler Boyd. Still kind of lacking on the offensive line. Yeah, he's got Joe Mixon there. But Joe Burrow's that other guy where it's we're hyping him up for, I don't know, not great production, solid production. I also think he's got the least rushing ability out of those guys. So that's a knock against him too, especially when we've seen this whole Konami code kind of thing coming around. Which means if you have a running quarterback, you're better off. So yeah, I don't think you could go wrong drafting one of these in the first round in Superflex. I know Frank said Burrow in the first round is a little too much for him. I personally am still drafting Burrow in the late first.
Honestly, I might with one of those last picks, 111, 112.
Here's the thing, though. Here's the thing, right? With Dak, at least, I really like Dak. I understand he might be a little overrated just because he's just randomly gone up. Mainly, this is the one thing I have against Dak and Joe Burrow is that because Deshaun Watson has disintegrated his top value stock, it seems like people are trying to replace him with Dak Prescott and Joe Burrow. Those are the two guys
Dak, yeah.
that their stock has risen completely because of the void left by Deshaun Watson, which I don't necessarily disagree with. The thing about Dak, though, is that Dak is a league winner. Dak is the kind of guy for the past 2 years that if you had him on your fantasy team, he was a really, really top quarterback to have. He was consistent. He was the kind of guy that could perform against tough defenses and just overall was a top 3 quarterback to have on your roster. So I'm not a doctor. I'm not going to speculate with the injuries, but Dak
Dr.
Prescott
Frank.
to me is a top 5 quarterback, probably number 5 or number 4, but he is right up there with quarterbacks I would want to build my team around because the dude is an absolute stud.
All right. Anyone have anything to add, or are we good to move on to our next tier?
I'm good.
All right. So we're going to move on to the juicier tier here. Tier 2, we've got Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, Trey Lance. That's, the next probably top 6 picks in a Superflex draft, a rookie draft. They're in the likes of, as Frank mentioned, Deshaun Watson, Russell Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, Baker Mayfield, and Tua sneaking into this tier. So where do you guys rank these guys? I think we all have a different opinion on these 3 rookies, and then I think it's just going to be a mess with how we rate them towards all these other guys.
I think we might actually all agree with this one, except for you, JT. You might have difference. Out of all these guys, I probably value Russell Wilson at 1.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah,
I'll agree.
Yeah. What gets dicey is, I think we can all agree the most dicey one is how do we compare Deshaun Watson's value to some of these other rookies.
We could just exclude Deshaun out of here because he's such a weird circumstance.
I think that's a good idea just because
it's so hard. It's so hard.
Bearing in all this legal stuff that's hovering over Deshaun Watson, I think he would be a tier 1 quarterback here. So just the fact that he's even listed at this value now just shows how serious this stuff is. We're not going to touch on it. We're not doing anything with it, but
no, let's touch on it. Deshaun Watson. No, I'm kidding.
I knew that's coming. All right. So, Lounis, real quick, just break it down. Give us all your rankings on these guys, and then we'll pick it apart and tear you apart for your opinion.
Okay. I'd have Russell Wilson at 1. I'd have Trey Lance at 2.
Oh, okay.
This is tough. Give me Fields at 3.
You're really going with the Bears quarterback?
I think the Bears coaching situation is going to be different in a year or 2. Zach Wilson versus Baker and Rodgers and Tua is tough. Because Baker proved himself last year. Rodgers, you're probably going to get how many more years lead out of him? Like 4 or 5?
I was thinking
instead of ranking,
Tua
let's
is
just
getting going.
Last. Who do you think is last?
Out of this?
Yeah.
I mean, my hot take is Zach Wilson.
Oh.
Who saw that coming? JT hates Zach Wilson.
I've been on that train. Yeah.
I also know JT doesn't like Tua.
No, I don't mind Tua, actually. Go ahead, Jake.
I think the last person I have in here is Baker, and that's just because his upside, I think, is the lowest of all of these guys.
I think he's a very better.
I think Baker's a very safe play, but I think that Browns team really found its identity last year, where it was a run-first team and let Baker do just enough to get this team to win, which is great for the Cleveland Browns. But in terms of fantasy production, we saw that Baker put up a lot of 14 to 16-point games that just weren't what I would like to see out of a guy that's ranked this high.
I think the question with this tier is how much risk are you willing to take on, right? Because, like, Baker, I feel like while you did say his upside probably is kind of capped, Jake, like I feel like he has a very solid floor.
I agree. I think he's a very safe pick here. I think that the Browns have found their franchise quarterback finally after all this time. But like I said, I think this team is going to use Nick Chubb, and they are going to use Kareem Hunt as most as possible, just because that's how they win games. They chew the clock, and those are 2 of the best running backs in the league. So
to be fair, though, that is priced in, though. Because I think out of all these guys, Baker and Aaron Rodgers are the best value for for money buy in these tiers. Because you could say it's Tua, but we tried to trade for Tua, and you got to pay a pretty high-end quarterback price for Tua. Like Tua, to a lot of people, especially ones that drafted him, is still valued at around that quarterback one price. I think Tua is not a great buy right now in most leagues. Whereas Baker and Rodgers, Baker, you're not paying a quarterback one price for. I can imagine that you will not get a top 7 pick in this rookie draft trading Baker straight up in most leagues. I think that every single person would rather have these 3 tier 2 rookies over Baker, and even guys like Najee Harris and maybe even like consensus people on Devontae Smith. You know, if you tried to get 108, 109 for Baker straight up, especially during a rookie draft, dude, people are going to be like, nah, fuck that. Fuck them. Fuck the Bakers.
I've got a very different outlook on this class, I feel like, where it's tough buy. I am going to put Russell Wilson first, and then I've got my Justin Fields and Trey Lance after him. I think I know what Keep Trade Cut says and what consensus says, where these guys are all kind of in the same tier, but I'm putting those 3 guys, Russell Wilson and then the 2 rookies, Fields and Lance, in like a separate tier. And then I'm putting I would put Aaron Rodgers in that tier if I knew that like what his outlook was going to be like even 2 years from now, but like all this drama and everything, I don't know what's going on with Aaron Rodgers, so I'm going to lump him into that next tier. And then I'm going to put Baker, Tua, and then finally Zach Wilson at the bottom of that tier. Just because I'm not a Zach Wilson believer, I've talked about before in recent podcasts. But with either of those tiers, I just think rookies aside, these guys are like those solid guys that you know what they're going to do for your team. Like, you know what you're getting out of these guys, essentially. Where it's Russell Wilson, you're getting a top 12 quarterback. With Aaron Rodgers, you're getting a top 12 quarterback, but like, how long are you getting that top 12 quarterback for? And then like Baker and Tua, you're getting probably high-end quarterback 2 numbers, which, you know, is very good for Superflex. If you have like quarterback 13 as your second Superflex guy, like that's not stopping you from winning a championship, certainly. So, I don't know. These are tiers though that like I really like in startups. Like, I'd be going out and I'd be trying to get most of these guys in a startup draft.
I think that Baker is much higher rated for me than Tua.
Interesting.
You know,
I'm just curious because I'm the opposite.
I think Baker's just safer.
Yeah, but
they're
here's
really
the
close
thing.
for me.
I looked at a lot of Browns film last year on a Browns analysis, a Browns offense analysis that we did towards the end of the season. And one thing that is clearly apparent is that Baker Mayfield was the most improved player on that offense from week 1 to like week 15. Right, and it was not close. He was the main reason why that, and some schematic changes, is why the Browns offense became what it was. Like, and I think that people don't really give Baker enough credit. He changed up his throwing mechanics. If you look at that one Sunday Night Football game, I think it was against the Ravens, Chris Collinsworth made a great point about how he changed his front foot on his throws to give him a little more power and accuracy. What else did he do? I mean, his reads were just better. He was like a tick faster, right? And it made a huge impact on this Browns offense. And I think that Baker right now is one of the better buys. Obviously, Russell Wilson, to me, top guy. I think the real question, though, before we move on from this tier, is which guys are you taking over Aaron Rodgers? Which rookies? Because Aaron Rodgers, like you guys have kind of mentioned, is the weird one. He's the one where we know you're getting someone good, but if you kind of have to be a contender for Rodgers, it seems like. You really are not confident 3 years, 4 years down the line that he's even going to be playing. And to me, I think Wilson and Lance are the 2 that I would take over Rodgers in a vacuum. As a contender, I think it's a different story. Just because you don't want
Russ Wilson, right, Frank?
No, Zach Wilson. Oh yeah, Russell Wilson, I would as well. But it just if I'm building a team, I'm not competing, I'm not rebuilding, I'm just building a team in a startup. Wilson and Lance are the 2 I would take over Rodgers. Clearly, we would probably all want Rodgers if we're competing, but Rodgers and Wilson would just blow all these other guys out of the water if you're a competing team. But those are the 2 guys I would take over Rodgers in a startup.
I'm not gonna lie. In a startup, I think I would take all three of those. Rodgers.
I agree. I would take all three over him in a startup. All three
Russell
rookies.
Wilson goes above all of them, but I would
Yeah,
take all
Russ
three of those
above
guys.
all of the rookies, but over Aaron Rodgers, I will take Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, and especially Trey
Damn,
Lance.
seriously?
Dude, I mean, I'm sure all of us we have different personal rankings, but I still really like all three of them. I think all three of them will be good NFL quarterbacks.
Yeah, but what about Rodgers? The dude is a good NFL. He just won an MVP.
He's great, but
But he's
I don't know,
36.
I think also the thing with them is obviously there's a chance if they bust, their value goes down. But Rodgers, I feel value is not going to go much higher than right now for the rest of his career. It's only going to decrease more and more as he gets older, and we already know how good he is. Versus those rookies, if they have not even just on his level, but close to Herbert type rookie season, then you have a top 7 dynasty asset, top 6 dynasty asset.
Okay.
Yeah, but the odds are
I'm not saying not as good, but it's similar to that, even a Joe Burrow level.
The odds are one of these guys is going to bust. The overwhelming odds are one of these guys is not going to be good. In my opinion, it's Zach Wilson. I think you guys probably would say otherwise of who the bust would be, but I'm not taking Zach Wilson over Aaron Rodgers because in my opinion, I think he's the one most likely to be the bust over these guys.
To be honest, I'm rethinking that Lance a little bit. I think that I'm the opposite. I think Wilson might be the only one I take over Rodgers. I still really like Aaron Rodgers. I think Aaron Rodgers is criminally underrated. The dude is just an absolute stud.
In a startup, so you're taking Rodgers over the Lance and Fields?
I don't know. It's close. I think it also depends on what happens in the draft a little bit. And I haven't looked at Aaron Rodgers' ADP, so I think that also kind of plays into it. Where am I picking? Yeah. Am I getting a pick around one of these guys? But I think it's really close, and I think it's more of a testament to Aaron Rodgers being underrated than these quarterbacks. I think that they were going to wildly bust.
No, I'm with you. I do think Aaron Rodgers' value is a little bit because he's still going to be good for another 5-6 years. It's just
that's if he's playing.
Yeah,
if he retires and goes into jeopardy.
It's not a bad retirement gig if we're going to be honest.
It's a great retirement gig. I bet he does do that when he does actually retire in a couple of years.
I don't know if Jeopardy would want him. All right, moving on though. We're way off topic.
What do you mean Jeopardy wouldn't want him?
Jeopardy would want him.
Jeopardy would throw at least 2 first-round picks for Aaron Rodgers.
They already offered him a contract. They offered him a contract.
Does Aaron Rodgers fit the main Jeopardy crowd?
Dude, he fits that offense perfectly. All right, that Jeopardy offense is a puzzle piece fit for Aaron Rodgers.
He fits the scheme.
Yeah, he fits the scheme to a T.
Jake, you got any thoughts on Tua?
You all know I love Tua. I went out and traded for him this offseason, but he's a guy that obviously a year removed from surgery. I think they really limited the playbook last year as a rookie just to get him comfortable in the NFL, get him comfortable, playing at that speed because obviously college and the NFL is 2 different games. Moving into year 2, they add his former college teammate, obviously Jalen Waddle with the 6th pick. I think they signed Will Fuller, which makes that receiving core just super fast in general, which I think just kind of is what they had at Bama with Ruggs and Devontae Smith and Judy and Waddle obviously. So I think this offense, they're really tailoring it to Tua. I've seen a lot of rumors that this playbook is going to look a lot different than it did last year for Tua, just because they're ready to just open it up and see if they actually found their franchise quarterback, or they're going to have to go get another one. Because I think this is a year that you're really going to be able to tell. I think last year, like I said, they just eased them into it, and I think they're really going to let Tua rip a year off the injury, all weapons loaded up. I think this is the time to buy Tua, even though the price, Frank said, might be high because people still value him at that. There was a reason that there was literally the saying tank for Tua. He's a very talented player, and there's no doubt that the Dolphins are building around him, and I think it's just a perfect time to get him before he explodes.
This is his big season. Next season is huge for dictating.
Completely. He could turn into Drew Lock, if he goes out and busts, he just Drew Lock, and he's out of the league in 3 years. Very easily could. I don't think he will, but that is one of the options here.
He does have similar caliber level talent around him like Drew Lock does. Did you guys see that Jalen Waddle got the same kind of grade as Trevor Lawrence for the Jaguars in their war room? They kind of
Jalen Waddle had the same grade as Trevor Lawrence. Yeah, that was crazy.
Yeah. I wouldn't put those two together in my opinion, but taking him, what was he, 6th overall pick?
Mm-hmm.
So a high draft pick for the Dolphins. A lot of capital invested in this guy. Better hope Jalen Waddle looks up.
A lot of capital invested in that offense in a whole now, between Tua last year, 4th overall or 5th overall, and then Waddle this year. So
all right, let's move on to Mack Jones. Let's move on to Mack Jones.
Mack Jones talk. So I'm the Patriots guy here. I'm also notably probably the lowest on Mack Jones out of the group. He's our tier 3 quarterback. He's kind of in an interior zone. He's around Jalen Hurts level, Ryan Tannehill, Carson Wentz on his comeback tour. I guess I'll kick this off. I like all 3 of these guys over Mack Jones. Tannehill, I just think, is always criminally underrated. And, it doesn't help that the second best wide receiver for the Titans is Josh Reynolds, Desmond Fitzpatrick, Anthony Frisker, the tight end, potentially Julio Jones. But I just think Ryan Tannehill, since he's come to Tennessee, he's been a very consistently good quarterback. He's had his down game, sure, but what quarterback really hasn't, especially at the value that he's at. He finished as quarterback 8 last year, looking at his history. Finished as quarterback 8, and then, even when he's at Miami, when he played as a full season, he also finished a quarterback 8. So we're talking top 12 quarterback potential, consistently quarterback 2 at least. I just think Ryan Tannehill is probably my top guy here. He's very consistent. Then I'd even put the issue is in this tier, there's a couple guys I'm low on, right? I'm also low on Jalen Hurts. I get that he's got the rushing ability, but I really didn't see that much from Jalen Hurts last year, and I just am not confident enough to put him much higher. And then Carson Wentz, we saw what happened with Carson Wentz at the beginning of the season. The other is Eagles quarterback. Now he's trying to make a comeback on the Colts.
Wait, time out, JT. Why don't you like Jalen Hurts?
I don't think he's that good of a quarterback, to be completely honest. He's got the rushing ability, which is very nice for dynasty football, but if he's not the starting quarterback in 2 years, what's the matter? I don't think he's going to be the guy that's going to win the Eagles games. And people could be oh, but he didn't have a lot of help. Well, he's not really having much more help this year either, right? Their offensive line is coming back and they should be healthy, but they're an offensive line that always has injury concerns. So who's going to say they're not going to get injured this year? I am willing to call that a wash. Maybe they're healthy, maybe they're not. His wide receiving core, not that great. I know that they got Devontae Smith 10th overall, but I'm just not the Devontae Smith guy here either. Jalen Reagor's the other guy. I do think Jalen Reagor still can have a comeback, but we've seen it when first round rookie wide receivers don't really produce in their first year. It's way less likely that they are going to produce. Then Ertz is probably gone. So then you just got Goddard and then a bunch of Jags and Lounis's boy Travis Fulgham. So
and a new coaching staff.
Who, let's be honest, he didn't draft him, and I'm not that in love with this coaching staff. It's just we saw what Frank Reich did. Let's just get Frank Reich's understudy here, but it's not Frank Reich, so I don't know. I don't like it. I don't like this team as a whole. I'm avoiding all Eagles offensive players. Sorry, Lounis.
I think with Jalen Hurts and stuff, I will say to the coaching staff's belief in him, they passed on Justin Fields. I think that does hold some value. He fell to them not fell because they were at the 10th spot. They could have picked him. They decided to go Devontae Smith instead. I think this year's obviously a huge year for Jalen Hurts. But I'm not going to – because here's the thing with him versus Mack Jones argument. The him versus Mack Jones argument is pretty much upside versus kind of safety. I feel less risky having Mack Jones because They just invested a first-round pick in him. They're going to give him multiple years to be the starter. But Jalen Hurts has the upside to be a better quarterback because of his rushing floor. And it's like, how much faith do you have in him to believe in to improve as a passer? Because I will give him some break. Like, as much as everyone assumes Carson Wentz is going to have a bounce-back season, Carson Wentz played arguably worse than Jalen Hurts in the same offense last year. They both got to go at it.
The way that offense was structured last year, especially with the injuries to the offensive line, there was no way Carson Wentz was going to be better than Jalen Hurts there. They needed a quarterback that could get out and move, and that's exactly what Jalen Hurts did. And it provided an energy jolt to this entire offense, and we saw what happened. Yes, the team played better with Jalen Hurts at quarterback last year, but I don't think that means that he's a better quarterback than Carson Wentz.
Well, I'm not saying
and you all know I wasn't a big Carson Wentz fan.
I know what I'm saying.
You got roasted for your
you all
Wednesday.
know I wasn't a big Carson Wentz fan. So that should say something.
I'm saying, everyone's just automatically assuming Wentz is going to have the bounce back year and just kind of discounting Jalen Hurts, like ignoring what Wentz did in that offense, but putting
no
so much value into Jalen Hurts.
The Indianapolis situation is almost like 1,000 times better. Best offensive line in the league, Jonathan Taylor behind him, and then Pittman and T.Y. on the outside. That's better than he's ever had in Philly. So
I don't know about not ever had. In 2017, that offense
was good.
They had the best offensive line in football, and Alshon Jeffrey in his prime.
Alshon Jeffrey was good then.
And Zach Ertz prime. Like, dude, that 2017 team, good run. They had 4 good running backs. But here.
They won the Super Bowl. Not with Wentz. But.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Here's the thing I will say about Mack Jones. That I think doesn't do him justice in this kind of conversation, because I kind of agree with JT to a certain extent. Even as someone that really likes Mack Jones, when you put him up against Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, and Carson Wentz, it is hard to say, oh, I'm confidently picking Mack Jones over these guys. But the thing about Mack Jones, and this is kind of the difference that I have with Mack Jones in a startup versus a rookie draft, is this is almost comparing his startup value, which I think is really dog crap. I think picking Mack Jones in a startup is super risky and kind of a bait. But compared to a straight-up rookie draft, where you can pick up Mack Jones at the end of the first round, sometimes even early in the second round, a lot of drafts, that's where the value comes in for me, because you are not sniffing Jalen Hurts, Ryan Tannehill, or Carson Wentz with a very early second-round pick, where in a lot of drafts, that's where Mack Jones is being picked. And that might be because he's not right now the day one starting quarterback, or people don't like him because of the rushing floor, which I understand is definitely an issue. But it's so priced in rookie drafts to the point where I think that there's huge arbitrage value with Mack Jones straight up in rookie drafts that you can take advantage of. Startup drafts, I completely agree with you guys. I think I would have him last in this tier, maybe ahead of Jalen Hurts. But I think Tannehill is the clear number one.
So you don't really like Hurts either, then, if you have Hurts?
I don't know. I think that they have similar. I just think Mack Jones as a passer is better. Mack Jones as a passer is really good.
Mack
and
Jones
Jalen Hurts, I've been watching some tape on him. He has a lot of work to do on concepts, but Jalen Hurts is nice. I don't know. I don't really. I'm not super high on Jalen Hurts. I'm not super low on Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't. I'm low on Jalen Hurts versus consensus. That's what I'll say. Because I've seen people even say oh, Lamar kind of struggled in his first year. This could be Jalen Hurts, and to that, I just think they're not the same player. These are not the same guys.
Wait, Lamar played 5 games. What do you mean? And didn't he only lose one of them?
I've seen on Reddit and Twitter oh, Lamar didn't produce that much in his first in his.
Oh, Patrick Mahomes struggled his rookie year.
Well, he didn't play rookie year.
It's the same thing with Lamar. Lamar played. Yeah. He didn't even play half a season. How are we going to say he struggled? He struggled.
Jalen Hurts only played 4 games. 3-4 games. Whoever Jalen Hurts played.
Yeah, but who's saying no? Is anyone saying that Jalen Hurts really struggled his rookie year? Everyone, I feel thinks that Jalen Hurts looked great his rookie year.
I don't think he looked great.
He looked better than I thought he would.
Compared to what was happening with Carson Wentz, Mr. Yipmeister. Dude, Jalen Hurts was a godsend.
That has more to say with what I said about Carson Wentz just being absolute dog shit last year.
Is there a possibility
more
that
than I
Wentz
hate any
just
other
straight
player.
up had a big old case of the yips? Like,
I mean, definitely possible.
No, mentally, no. He was definitely fucked up mentally. I would think everything just kind of got in his head last year.
because you can say the yips aren't real, but it's a thing in baseball. Like, it is 100% a thing with pitchers that sometimes you're just in the groove and other times you're just like, dude, I'm out there it's just not working. You know, it's just not happening.
Well, I think most people will say confidence is like a top trait that you need in a quarterback. And like, if you have the team trading to get a quarterback in like the second round, drafted behind you, you know, like that's probably going to shake your confidence. You probably thought you were very much the clear starter, and now you've got this guy right over your shoulder. It's going to shake your mental ability. But like, you know, the greats don't care. They're like, I'm number one quarterback. I'm going to be the guy. I just Carson Wentz obviously isn't a great, but I think he's good. I think he's okay. Way better than what Jake will say about him.
But dude, he was a 2017 MVP candidate.
Let's go to tier 4. Let's go to tier 4.
Okay, no. As much as I was shouting Wentz, Jake can't be talking too much about Wentz. Listen, would you talk about 2017? I'll talk about 2019, 2018, 2016. Well, 2016 was his rookie year. But I think Wentz is still a good quarterback. I just think last year he was in his own head.
Actually, real quick before we move on, anyone you taking Mack Jones over in this?
On that list,
Mhm.
him and Hurts are really close.
I still think I'm taking Hurts. If I'm a
I'd
contending
lean
team,
Hurts.
I'm taking Hurts.
Definitely if I'm contending, I'm leaning Hurts because I think Hurts, when he starts, he's going to be a good fantasy quarterback. It's just how long is he going to be a starter for?
Mac Jones, I'm taking over Wentz and Hurts.
Okay, I respect that.
He's the last guy for me. I'm not a Mac Jones guy. Although
I
I'd
do
love to be
think
proven
Mac
wrong.
Jones is like one of the top buys in a rookie draft, though. Like late in
Well,
the
yeah, if
first
he's going
round
late
is
first.
super, super good value for him.
So, all right, do you want? Let me take us on a side tangent real quick. So, if you're listening to this podcast, a Dynasty Fantasy Football podcast, you probably know Dynasty nerds. If not, they're, I'd say, probably the top Dynasty site, Dynasty group, whatever you want to call it. They did a mock draft, right? And I get it. Last year, they said Justin Herbert would be quarterback 3 overall in the rookie
that
mock.
shit was. Is that the one with that pick 11?
Yeah, hold on.
Yeah, that shit was
Yeah,
so dumb.
so last year they said Herbert should be your 3rd overall pick. And to be fair, no one else was saying that, and they're probably right. This year they have Mack Jones going as like quarterback or pick 6 overall, which I just can't get behind. But even worse, they have Jamar Chase all the way back at like pick 11, 1.11, which is just nutty to me. They've got Devontae Smith and all these guys over him. I just think if Mac Jones is pick 111, that's probably a good steal. But if you're listening to Dynasty Nerds and you're picking Mac Jones at like 105, 106, you're just reaching too high, I feel like.
I don't hate it.
105, 106, you're picking Mac Jones?
I think that I would the couple of players I would take 100% over Mac Jones are Wilson, Lawrence, Javonte Williams, Najee Harris, Kyle Pitts. And then probably Devontae Smith. I already said Zach Wilson. I think that there's a legitimate argument to have Mac Jones over Trey Lance.
So you're taking...
I'm not saying I would take Mac Jones over Trey Lance, but I think that there is definitely an argument to be made. And I'm not saying like, because I like Mac Jones a lot. I think Mac Jones is a good freaking quarterback. It's just his lack of rushing is like a legitimate issue. You know, like I used to be one of those dudes that didn't believe in the whole rushing thing. Like, and then we did a study on it here on the pod, and it does matter. So like you have to take it into account in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And
I still think I'd go Lance over Jones, but I like Mac Jones a lot. I think Mac Jones is good. It's just I think he's good in the sense of he'll be a good QB2, like a reliable QB2 for a long time, more so than, oh, this dude is going to be breaking records left, right, and center.
So who do you compare Trey Lance to then? Like, do you have a player comp for him, or like a guy that you see him scoring comparably amount, not even like play style, but just like number where he finishes every year. Who is he? Is he Kirk Cousins, where he's back end QB1 and no one wants
Trey
to touch
Lance
him?
or Mac Jones?
Both.
Well, Trey Lance has the profile of like in his college profile, he has the profile of like a Lamar Jackson, where it's like he has a ton of rushing production. Over half of his, if you were to take his college production and put it into fantasy points, 55% of his fantasy points from college games would have been from rushing. So like I think that's the reason why a lot of people like Trey Lance more, is that he has that QB1 upside, and he he's in San Francisco. Listen, I like Trey Lance too. I'm not against Trey Lance. I think that I just don't think he's the consensus 102 for me. I think he's a good player though.
He's not my 102. Justin Fields is, but man, to even think about taking Mack Jones over like Jamar Chase or Kyle Pitts or Javonte Williams, I can't do it. Can't do it. All right, let's move on. We're on to tier 4. These are kind of the other guys that would probably have potential that we're looking to see start. Frank's guy from the start, Kellen Mond. Then you also have Davis Mills and Kyle Trask. And then they're compared to the likes of Jordan Love, Jimmy G, Drew Lock, and Ryan Fitzpatrick. So what do you guys think about this tier?
Give me Kellen Mond.
Knew that was coming. Shocker.
I'd probably have Kellen Mond number 1 on this list. Compared to everyone else, it's hard to rank Jimmy G. I might put Jordan Love at 2. It's close. I just think Kellen Mond is the easy one for me in this tier. I can say that.
The thing about this tier to me is it's a lot of uncertainty. Obviously, the 3 rookies in Trask, Mond, and Davis Mills, they're likely not seeing the field this year, if for very long. Put it that way. Just behind Kirk Cousins, and Trask behind Tom Brady, and Davis Mills in Houston. I don't know what's going on there. He might have the chance to see the field the most. But outside of, and then you go to the guys that are already in the league. Jordan Love, I don't think Rodgers gets traded at this very second, so I don't think he sees the field. Jimmy G, he's going to start the season, but he has the number 3 pick in Trey Lance looming right behind him. Like, obviously, his days are limited in San Francisco moving forward. Drew Lock's the next guy in this tier. And obviously, we know they just traded for Teddy Bridgewater. Obviously, that's probably not a long-term solution, but it is a guy that, the Broncos could feel more comfortable with in winning games this season with, just because he's more consistent. So, and then you have Fitzmagic, baby. I think he might be the best option in this whole tier for this season alone, just in a vacuum. Just because if you look at his weapons, he's going to have McLaurin and Diami Brown and Curtis Samuel. So he's going to just chuck the ball. That's what he's going to do, and he loves doing that. So for this season alone, I think Ryan Fitzpatrick's the best move. But he doesn't have anything left much after this, dynasty wise.
Pick your top 3 guys from this tier. I'll go first. I'm taking Mond, Jimmy G, and Davis Mills.
I think you guys are just overlooking something here.
I think Jordan Love is in my top 3 there.
Yeah. Lounis, exactly. I'm not even that great of a Jordan Love guy, not that high on him. I actually traded him in our league.
First round QB.
He's the only first round pick out of this group. And as I mentioned before, if you're not a first round pick, your chances of hitting are so low for quarterbacks. And we've got guys that the rookies are either end of the second, beginning of the third.
Hold on here. Because if we're gonna take the data analytics stuff into consideration, Jordan Love is not in the tier of first round picks with high success rate. If you look at Jordan Love's that end of the first round success rate, the only guy in recent times that has really succeeded from there is Aaron Rodgers.
Lamar Jackson.
Oh yeah, Lamar Jackson as well. I'll give you that. I forgot about him.
Fair, but again, I'm the one to say that it's probably top 15 picks. If you're not a top 15 pick, you're not worth it. I just think though, if you're pick 26 and a team traded up for you and you're supposed to be a successor to a Hall of Fame quarterback, I like you more than the likes of Kellen Mond and Davis Mills and Kyle Trask, where I get Kyle Trask has probably opportunity in front of him, or at least perceived opportunity, right, with Brady going to go, but I think with Brady also goes Bruce Arians. Bruce Arians said himself, like, Tom Brady basically started coaching the team. I don't think Bruce Arians really is that good of a coach. He's a player's coach. I'll give him that. I don't think he's that good of an actual NFL coach. Then you've got Davis Mills in the mess of Houston. I actually would pick Davis Mills second here to Jordan Love. I still don't like the situation that much. You have no idea what Houston's going to look like in 2 years, but currently it's just a wasteland. And then Kellen Mond, like, Frank loves Kellen Mond. You two, you're not that low on Kellen Mond. I'm just the Kellen Mond hater here. I don't see anything from Kellen Mond. I don't want Kellen Mond. So with that, I'd be taking Ryan Fitzpatrick as my third guy, and then because I just think Jimmy G's probably done too. So me, it would be Love, it'd be Davis Mills, and then Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Fitzmagic, baby.
Fitzmagic.
Lynn, what about you? Pick your top three.
My top three, I'll go Mond, Love, Fitzpatrick. Trask.
Hey, that was mine. Oh, no, it was not mine. That was not mine. You said Mond
Close.
first.
Yeah.
Whoa, you're not taking your boy Kyle Trask.
I just said Trask will be fourth.
Okay, Trask could be four.
He'd be
All
fourth.
right.
I mean, can't be that high on Kyle Trask if you're taking him after like a 38-year-old journeyman quarterback.
Him and Fitzpatrick are close.
Tells you all you need to know about Kyle Trask, folks. Lounis isn't even taking him.
I don't know, dude. I still think that Mond has the highest. I mean, Love definitely, his upside is really high. I was not a huge fan of Jordan Love's tape out of Nevada. I actually think the kid they have now, Carson Strong, is looking a lot better than Jordan Love was. To me, it's just Mond. Like, if Mond hits, I feel like I'm getting a QB1. I'm getting a quarterback the likes of these other top-end dudes that are being picked really early on in the draft. Obviously, if you look at the data analytics and the situation and stuff, you can talk yourself out of it. But the price that I'm paying for Mond is incredibly low. You're getting him late second round. His consensus pick is not even in the top 24 picks. It's in the early third round right now.
I think actually in Keep Trade Cut, he's just snuck into overall 23, so he's looking back in second.
Yeah, but I mean, in every single draft I've done, he's not gone in the second. And there was 2 6-point passing touchdown leagues. He didn't go in the second round.
That's crazy.
I value him as a second rounder. There are definitely drafts where he does, but from my personal experience, you can pick him up in the early third round or very, very late second, like Jake said, 23, 24, 301, somewhere around there. I love that price for him. I absolutely love that price for him. Yeah, there's a huge chance he busts, but dude, I'll believe in my guy. I also think that the Vikings general manager and their whole staff is just really good. So I kind of like the situation that Mond is in. He's not going to be thrown into the fire year one. He can develop, work on a couple of his issues, and then if he ever gets a starting gig, he's on an offense with a plethora of talent.
All right.
When is Kirk Cousins' contract up?
2 years, I think.
I think Lounis is right.
I got it.
They don't really have an out from it either, though. It's like an expensive contract.
Yeah, it is. But it is after next. So just to put that in consideration with Kellen Mond.
All right, well, that should be it for the quarterbacks. Are there any other quarterbacks that you all want to shout out? I guess in a tier 5, the any other quarterbacks?
Ellinger is someone I'd take a dart throw on.
Same.
Maybe in the 5th round.
I think Ellinger is the only other quarterback in this draft class that I would be willing to roster as a rookie.
Maybe
as of right
Ian
now.
Book. Maybe Ian Book, if I have some space for him. But, yeah, I mean, at this point, their chances of hitting, you got to be like a Tom Brady.
Oh, dude, there is someone that I do want to shout out. I don't know his name off the top of my head, but he's an interesting kid that the Steelers picked up, I think, as a UDFA. I'm going to check their depth chart real quick before we move on. He's got something about him. I forget exactly what it is, but it's something interesting. Okay, I can't see him, but the Steelers picked up someone, whether he was in this draft class or like he was in the draft class last year, and they picked him up as a free agent. The dude's super interesting, and I'm excited to see what he can do during training camp because obviously the Steelers are in a spot where
Roland Rivers.
Yes, Roland Rivers. I saw someone made a post about him in the Steelers sub or in the Dynasty sub or the draft sub, one of the three, and they were like hyping him up a little bit. I haven't watched any tape on him, but they kind of convinced me to keep an eye on him. I'm not going to roster him in any leagues, but I think he is someone worth keeping track of because of the Steelers situation. And that, I mean, you saw that they went and picked up what's his face from Ohio State, the kid that the football team, Haskins. And then they brought Dobbs back, so like they have like 1,000 quarterbacks that are going to be battling it out with Mason Rudolph early in the season. So clearly the team is still looking to see if they can pick up a long-term answer before the draft because they kind of know that the impending doom is coming.